It's been a crazy week in Canadian politics, and I'm using that word loosely. We know what happened Monday. Chrystia Freeland, surprising, that's a fair word to use, the Prime Minister by resigning, the government kind of thrown into chaos, trying to find, among other things, a finance minister to release the fall economic statement, and the calls increasing for Justin Trudeau to resign. I wanted to talk to Marc Miller, our Minister of Federal Immigration, who's on the line right now, who's also a close friend and has been for many, many years of Justin Trudeau's. I'm starting to wonder if the number of people loyal to the Prime Minister is starting to dwindle. Minister, thank you so much for being with us, first of all, this afternoon.
Thanks, Aaron.
I know you're busy. So let me begin with that. You know, it's basically radio silence since this all happened from the Prime Minister on Monday. Where are we at right now? I understand he canceled all engagements, all media engagements between now and whenever. Do you have any idea what's going on?
Yeah, a little. I mean, there's no surprise that there's some stuff that I won't speak publicly about, but I think also the impression that things are as hectic as they appear aren't necessarily the case. Monday was not a good day. Tuesday a little better, and today even better. My advice to the PM has been, when you have something to say, take your time and say it, but not before. He likes doing these year-end interviews. He's candid about his views on things, and likes doing a wrap-up of what's, the good, bad, and the ugly of what's gone on in Canadian politics. But obviously, it became obvious that this would only be about the relationship with Chrystia Freeland. So I think rightly he paused those interviews. I'm sure you can expect to hear from him over the next few days. But we need to focus on something that is, I think, something that's in my recent memory, something we haven't seen in terms of a threat to Canada that we haven't seen in a long time, in the threat of tariffs from the Trump administrations that could cripple industry and lead to mass layoffs. The next 60 days in Canadian politics in our history are critical. And as Team Canada, we need to focus on that. First and foremost, the Prime Minister. I think his mind is always on Canadians and making sure that we're serving Canadians properly. And if we cannot focus on the next 45 to 60 days, frankly, we don't deserve to be where we are as serving Canadians. And I think that is currently the focus of the Prime Minister.
With respect to that, it's been suggested, and I understand it, this idea of these are very important times, 45 to 60 days, there's going to be a new U.S. administration. You have a Prime Minister right now who's basically not around, not to answer this, not to give us a direction as to what's going to happen. You have provincial premiers who met with the Prime Minister. They seem to be sort of going in one direction. The federal government is going in another direction in terms of what we might do. It would seem to me this might be the most important time for the Prime Minister to stand up and say, hey, here's what we're going to do. Here's our plan. But it hasn't happened.
Yeah, and I think Canadians can expect to see that. The inauguration's on January 20th. There are a lot of things that need to fall into place until there, Aaron. The ultimate prerogative of trade sanctions, for example, is that of the Prime Minister and of Cabinet. I think the Canadians should expect us to go on the offensive. For the last little while, we've been engaging, I think, actively, including the visit to Mar-a-Lago that the Prime Minister did, but with the incoming administration on what we can do. For example, at the border, Dominic LeBlanc and I announced robust measures yesterday on securing the border, increased immigration measures that will tighten the screws a little bit on the system that we've already been reining in over the last 6 months. And we can expect that plan to unfurl. Obviously, we've had no guarantees from the U.S. that they will not impose those tariffs, so those should still be top of mind. But that is the focus and my focus over the next 60 days. Obviously, plan to take a break. I think, frankly, given all the craziness over the last little while, it becomes more obvious that we all need to have, a couple glasses of wine, some Christmas turkey, or some Chinese food, whatever people eat during that period. Relax a little, but then get back to work quickly, because the month of January is going to be hectic, and Canadians are going to expect a Prime Minister that is leading Team Canada that, as you said, Darren, has been disorganized. And I've been quite severe with premiers going out and ad-libbing it in different directions. That's not helpful, and it walks straight into to the new administration's plan, and they'll leave us alive if we're not a unified team.
But I would suggest that, respectfully, that the reason they're doing that individually, so we had Alberta announce $29 million to, basically watch their border. You've heard what Doug Ford has had to say. It seems to me, Minister, that's being done because there is no federal plan.
Well, they've seen the border announcement, Minister LeBlanc spoke to incoming Secretary Holman, who was very positive about that. We told him the broad brushstrokes of it. They know that the northern border is not as significant a concern as what's going on at the Mexico border, but we still need to do our job in our own national interest. We expect them to do their job when it comes to guns and drugs coming into Canada. That is something that is at the top of mind and should continue to be. If you've looked at premiers' behavior in the past, for example, during NAFTA, they have never been of one mind. I would put to you, though, that they were a little more organized last time. I think there was more of a sense of Team Canada. It doesn't help to do it alone or to negotiate across purposes. But again, I don't think there should be any doubt in anyone's mind that the Prime Minister won't rise to the occasion and defend Canadians.
I would point out one other thing with respect to this border plan put forth by Dominic LeBlanc the other day, or yesterday, I guess. I had someone mention, you know what, look at the number. It's a little over $1 billion over 5 years. He suggested that was a rounding error in a federal budget, that it's really basically nothing more than window dressing because it won't address the problem the way it should be. Is that accurate?
Well, I think first and foremost, people can expect to see, and indeed I've been doing it in my ministry and bringing the numbers down of people coming into Canada and going north-south into the U.S., action before inauguration date. And the resources that we are looking at internally, you heard the RCMP Commissioner Dehame speak about several hundred more people at the border, reallocation of resources internally to ensure that the border is being dealt with properly. The creation of a new fentanyl strike force, which again, fentanyl is plaguing big cities, small towns in Canada, just as it is in the U.S., so that we can show concretely to Canadians and to our friends in the U.S. that we are taking measures on this. This is something that will evolve, but I think Canadians should expect to see concrete actions prior to Inauguration Day on the 20th of January.
I want to play. I had Anthony Housefather on my show yesterday afternoon, and I think most Canadians, perhaps who saw his interview originally with Vassy Kapelos, were kind of taken aback. I mean, I know that Anthony has had his issues with the Prime Minister before, but at one point, he actually came right out and said, I think he should resign, which is the first time I've ever heard that, publicly anyway, and saying that he's had discussions. This was not the first time he suggested it. I want you to hear what he had to say and then react to this.
In the last few months, it's become very, very clear, I think, to most Canadians that the country wants to change. They don't necessarily want the Conservatives, but they don't want Justin Trudeau. I believe that Chrystia Freeland's letter prompted the Prime Minister to rethink his decision to stay as leader. Then it's up to all of us to follow Chrystia's lead and to tell him in the strongest possible terms that we think it's in the best interest of the party and the country that he allow for a fresh voice, fresh face, and a fresh vision to lead the Liberal Party to the next election.
And there are a lot of other Liberal caucus members, Minister, who feel the same way. You're not one of them, right?
No, and I support the Prime Minister 100%. The majority caucus is behind the Prime Minister. And Anthony's entitled to his views, and we've, whether we like it or not and how it appears in public, we've been quite proud about being an open caucus in our views. I think we probably could be a little more disciplined in how we share our views at times, but the reality is Anthony's entitled to his views. At the end of the day, though, I think Canadians should look quite carefully at what change looks like. Let's not presuppose any particular course or result of what will happen in the next 6 to 8 weeks. But if people had it in opposition the way they wanted it, you would have the Bloc opportunistically calling for an election while they supported us on a number of confidence motions because they see Pierre Poilievre coming in. That'll fan the flames of separatism. Pierre Poilievre has never been able to demonstrate or secure anything other than his own pension over the last 20 years. He's a guy who likes to speak in rhymes. I don't know how he would. I'm not going to say he's Trump Jr., but he's certainly a guy that would roll over in front of Mr. Trump. And he's got no proof otherwise. The last time we did the NAFTA round of negotiations, they were begging us. Andrew Scheer's on record, former Prime Minister Harper's on record begging us to concede on a number of points that we won. So the road test is there for Prime Minister Trudeau. He's shown that he's able to stand up to Mr. Trump. And I think Canadians can expect to see that in the next month.
Last question. You're as close to the Prime Minister as I think as any other caucus member. You've probably known him as longer than anyone else. I heard him last night at that Liberal Christmas party. He sounded like he's ready to go into another election. I mean, if you had to, your best bet, is he taking this time to contemplate what he's going to do? Or do you think he will resign? Or do you think he goes forward? What's your best bet?
Look, he's not a perfect guy. And he is, I've known him for 40 years. We've been as close as friends as can be. We're also professional colleagues, and I do give him my best advice. I don't share it on air. But he is a guy that takes commentary to heart. This is his team. This is the people that he fought for. Last night, you heard him speaking to people that sit in riding offices and do the difficult work of making sure that Canadians that come in, sometimes in a really difficult situation, get the best service they can from the Canadian government. And they're sort of the unsung heroes of this. They don't make it on front pages, but he was speaking to them and thanking them for all the work that they've done to make sure during this holiday season that they recognize the fact that they keep us where we are. They keep Canadians safe. They make sure that they are getting the best service possible from their elected officials, and that's important. So that was the tone of it. Not necessarily a speech designed for everyone, but it was speaking to them, and it's just about thanking the little guys that really do everything day in, day out, the unsung heroes of our political parties. And I think that was kind of the tone and tenor. And yeah, he was pumped up. So he thinks he can do it. I think he can do it, and I think Canadians can expect to see that over the next little while.
All right. Minister Marc Miller, I thank you so much. Always appreciate your time.
Great, and all the best during the holidays.
Take good care. You too.